What's up, people? It's Snitch Girl 30 here, and this is my Raw review for July 2nd. Yes, the second week of July. 2 days away from Independence Day, July 4th in the States. And honestly, I'm really surprised and really didn't do any of the Independence Day themes, even though it did not fall on a Monday. I thought they was going to probably pretty much do something, but I guess they didn't. But oh well. Now, I have to say that there were a few highlights and a few lowlights of this Raw, in my view. My biggest highlight of the night was not only seeing Doink the Clown, even though Heath Slater actually beat him, it was seeing DDP. And I'm sorry, that brought back so many memories for me. DDP and his diamond cutter. Oh my gosh, I was so happy to see that. And yeah, it's kind of reminds you of the Stone Cold Stunner. But anyway, the thing about it is, I was so excited to see DDP, and every single time you see Heath Slater, you know a legend's gonna come out. And the fact that we had two in one night, thank you, especially my favorite, Doink the Clown and DDP. Thank you, WWE. But anyway, moving on from there, I have to say that the opener really was entertaining for me. I actually did enjoy myself a lot, and I was really shocked at the fact that John Cena got as many cheers as boos this time. It really was a great crowd. The crowd was very entertaining, and the crowd was very live and energetic, and not as lethargic as all these other towns they've been at so far. But this crowd was really livened up, and not only that, they were excited to see John Cena. So I was really shocked to see that. Plus, I really did like the Jericho versus Daniel Bryan catchphrase off. I actually thought that was pretty cute, and the fact that Chris Jericho finally brought back his catchphrase after many months of us waiting for him to actually say his old catchphrase. We finally heard it tonight. It took months, but we finally heard it tonight, and I was entertained highly to see this catchphrase off. And I hope that many things go further with these guys. But I really have to say that the low light for me, and there were many, the low light for me was the fact that Kane, my beloved monster, was destroyed and decimated by the Big Show. Why? They could have done so much with this. They could have started a good feud with these guys, but they didn't. They just had to squash Kane as usual when they could have did like a decent feud between him and Big Show, but they didn't. And another match that I was highly disappointed about was Sin Cara versus Alberto Del Rio. Seeing how the fact that they were ex-luchadors, and for those who have seen Lucha Libre, we know that Lucha Libre is probably one of the most entertaining wrestling styles that you have ever seen in your life. High flying, like these guys are really accurate when it comes to their moves. So you know that somebody who is as technical and swift as Alberto Del Rio, seeing a high flying luchador like Sin Cara, you would think that would probably be the match of the night. Wrong. The match ended within 5 seconds. That was a disappointing match. Another disappointing match for me was Tyson Kidd beating Lord Tensai. Yeah, why were these guys even on the show in the first place? They're SmackDown, for crying out loud. They have absolutely no reason to be on this show tonight, especially Daniel Bryan. I understand that Daniel Bryan has a feud with CM Punk, kinda. The feud has been so mediocre and so laid back and so non active, it really doesn't even base a point to actually have Daniel Bryan on there. But then I have to admit, if it wasn't for AJ, then yeah, Daniel Bryan would actually absolutely have no purpose. And speaking of AJ, tonight was all about AJ. It was far too much about AJ. But don't get me wrong, I am highly impressed the way her character has evolved. She went from being a little itty bitty goody girl to a twisted crazy chick. I'm not gonna lie, she has evolved really well when it came to her character. She has definitely improved in the ring a lot, especially in her mixed tag match she had with Sheamus versus Vicky Guerrero and Dolph Ziggler. That match was interesting, especially the fact that Dolph Ziggler and Sheamus is gonna always put on a good show. We all know this. But seeing Vicky Guerrero pretty much get her just desserts from AJ, kind of too bad, because let's face it, when this whole thing with Daniel Bryan and CM Punk blows over, What are you going to do with AJ afterwards? She's not really going to have anything to do. So actually have her still have a feud with Vicky and not have it completely squashed makes sense because it gives AJ something to do. And since AJ is becoming more popular, I am noticing that there's a lot more mixed tags and there's a lot more. And the fact that they had a Divas match at the beginning of SmackDown last week really shows that she's actually starting to have some sort of an influence in the Divas division. Why I don't really understand, or really understand for that matter. And speaking of that, there was an announcement on SmackDown last week from Teddy Long before Teddy Long became the GM that there was going to be a mixed tag match, but with Layla and the Great Khali versus Oksana and Antonio Cesaro. What happened to that match? If anybody knows what happened to that match, please leave your comments in the comment section below. I'm curious to know what happened to that match and why that match did not come to be. That match would have been interesting for me, other than seeing Vicky Guerrero and Dolph Ziggler team up with Sheamus and a heel. I don't know. But I have to say that the catchphrase off behind the scenes with Chris Jericho and Daniel Bryan was very entertaining. But then I'm also noticing that there is some hostility between CM Punk and John Cena. So I'm actually hoping that there actually be some kind of a feud started up with those guys. But it seems to me that he's going to pretty much start a feud with Chris Jericho, seeing how he beat the crap out of him on the way out, and seeing how Daniel Bryan and CM Punk are connected with AJ. They're going to be feuding for a while, probably until after Money in the Bank. But speaking of Money in the Bank, I am not going to let my frustration with Money in the Bank affect my overall ranking or rating for this review. I am not going to actually be that biased, but I am going to say that Money in the Bank itself is very confusing to me. Not to mention the fact that we already have all the ex-champions together for Raw and for SmackDown. We also have the SmackDown Money in the Bank match with their 5 people that they actually chose for SmackDown. Where's Raw's crew? Is Raw even going to have one? I mean, for crying out loud, they have mid-carders there too. They said for the next few weeks, we're going to have qualifying matches. Why didn't we have qualifying matches tonight? Really, why didn't we? Why didn't they actually have at least 2? Instead of the ridiculous speedy matches that they had with Tyson Kidd Tyson Kidd and Laura Tensai, that monstrosity of a scene behind the scenes, as well as the match itself. And then we had the quick match with Sin Cara and Alberto Del Rio that lasts only a second. Why didn't we have qualifying matches that fill in those spaces? It would have made sense because we have Money in the Bank that's 2 weeks away. Why didn't you actually have those 2 matches? I don't get, at least have 2. I mean, for crying out loud, SmackDown had their 4 matches and they're done. They even had a tag and threw that in. But why didn't SmackDown have it? I don't get it. I don't get it at all. But I am not in any way, shape, or form going to be biased because they botched up in Money in the Bank that's going to actually affect my rating. But I can say about this, it was entertaining. It was very entertaining for me. I love the beginning. I love the opener. The ending was a cluster. It was literally a crap load of mess. I'm just going to say that. There's another word that I can say about what it really means, but I'm not going to even go there. Because it was absolutely stupid to have AJ that star for attention. And yes, she is taking a play out of Eve's playbook. Because Eve was notorious of doing that throughout her entire career. And now AJ is doing it. But the fact is that it had to end that way was dumb. Okay, I know that, yeah, it's going to show that AJ is the determining factor. That's the reason why they did all that. That's the reason why they went over the top. Because AJ is the determining factor. We get it. But it was still a dumb ending. Especially for a main event with 2 guys that literally know how to wrestle in the ring and actually bring it. I didn't agree with the ending at all. I thought the ending was stupid. But I have to say that for the catchphrase off, as well as that seeing DDP again, and then also the beginning of the entire show, and Taylor being GM, I have to say that I was really entertained. But throughout all that, for all my complaints that I have, I gotta go halfway with this. I'm sorry, I'm not going to go a thumbs up or a thumbs down. It's in the middle, people, because it had an equal amount of bad and an equal amount of good. So I'm going to stay in the middle with this. This is Nature Girl 30 signing off. Peace out, y'all. See you later.